But the liberating thing, I think about this to this day, is I got frustrated in advertising because there were so many chefs in the kitchen that awesome ideas got watered down. I'm the boss. I'm the boss of this. I deem when something's ready and it's polished and it's ready to be painted in the streets. And that's a huge joy of just being your own boss, and then again having it resonate with so many people.
I am. Yes, you are everything you say that you are. Choose your words wisely. Be gentle with yourself.
I've been running, came out gunning, stopped the fronting on your word. It's what you hear, not what you heard. I'ma hang on every verb. I'ma show you what it's worth. Every day I'm on the earth till they put me in the dirt. I'ma get into it first. Said I'ma get into it first. Until they put me in the dirt.
I am the international street artist known as Wordsmith. And today on the Live Through Love podcast, I'm going to talk about creativity, creative math, and finding a way to express yourself in life through whatever creative endeavor you choose.
You cannot stop me. I mean this spinach and broccoli. Termination like I'm Rocky. Lift the heavy, no spot, please. Body back a beating in a getaway scotch.
Phil, thanks for jumping on a jet and coming over here to the studio.
It's good to be here. And yeah, you're alluding to the fact that I don't know if a lot of people know, but I split time now between the US and the UK. So living in London and coming back here as often as possible.
So how has that transition affected your work?
I want to say positive. I mean, I'm a positive person. So personally, it was a move that I wanted to make. I always wanted to live overseas, and I'm fulfilling that. So inside, I'm very happy in the sense that I'm fulfilling a dream. So it's pouring into my work. It's been a learning curve as far as it's a whole different place where LA. Like the way I described it actually a little bit ago, and it was very poetic, was I'm making inroads in London, and I do have artists kind of saying like, wow, how did you do that or make that happen and stuff like that. But I feel like I was traveling highways in the States and in LA. So no offense to London, but I'm figuring it out. So there has been a learning curve of just like, what is what. And another big difference is here in the States, especially Los Angeles, there's a lot of canvas on as far as walls. And then in London, there's a lot of walls, but you wouldn't even think about painting on them. You know what I mean? So you really have to pick your spots if you're doing Renegade. Or there are neighborhoods that welcome the art pretty much. But again, there's buildings, obviously, that I wouldn't even think about, considering. But they're beautiful. They're just amazing.
Because I always struggle with the fact, like I'm here, I'm born and raised in LA. LA is my home. And obviously you were in Chicago, terrible weather, let's say. Then you came to perfect weather. Yeah. Then you left to the UK. Yeah. So there's that conversation. But to me, it's leaving. And you found yourself, you found Wordsmith here. How does it feel to leave now as Wordsmith and actually navigate a brand new city as 100% the artist that you've become?
It feels very good. It feels very liberating. Like it's embedded in my work. Like I embrace change. I think reinventing yourself is just the secret to life. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I realized like almost 4 or 5 years ago that the people I gravitate toward most in life, like you would think the commonality would be art or creativity. It's that they've reinvented themselves. Like I looked at the people that I'm closest to or just friends, and I'm like, they have reinvented them. And I'm the poster child for reinventing myself. So I've done it so many times. And I gravitate to those people because no offense to somebody that's worked, a job their entire life. My dad did it and some people in my family, my sister and brother do it. And that's great. That works for them. They're very good at it. I was in advertising. That's what you alluded to in Chicago. And I just hit a wall where I'm like, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I know you did the same. So to answer your question, it's very liberating. Like LA, we all know people come here to make their mark. And I did that. I did that in an accidental way. Like Wordsmith came about as a hobby that I wanted to have, something fun that I wanted to do. I needed an active hobby because I was spending so much time in front of the computer. So I started doing it for fun. The fact that I now, or a couple years in, was able to start doing it full time and now get to travel the world, it's amazing. But what I was going to say is making your mark in Los Angeles, that's an accomplishment. Like, I feel very proud for that, proud of that, especially because it's my words that made that mark. So taking it anywhere, you know what I mean? It's challenging myself, and it's a beautiful thing. And I've always loved London. I've always wanted to live overseas. So I am living a dream. And like I said, it's pouring into the work in a positive way. But I love being back here too. I mean, splitting time means, you know what I mean, that like I want to, and I don't want LA to feel like, I haven't even really addressed it. People have figured it out, but I never want people to think that I left LA because I love LA. Like I want to, you know what I'm saying? So it's been tough in that the splitting time is what I really want to do. And I don't know, it's just an adventure. It's a great adventure.
It's like people have a vacation home, you have a vacation city.
Pretty much.
And you're
pretty
splitting
much.
it back and forth.
Yeah. And I'm very happy or feel very blessed that I can do that. You know what I mean? So, and the art has fueled that. I mean, not only, wanting to do it all over the world, but being able to move to London and live in London. So, because you mentioned earlier, it's an expensive city. I did pick the one city that might be a little more expensive than Los Angeles. So it's all good. It's all good.
It's part of it. You figure it out.
Yeah.
So the beautiful thing here, we've both reinvented ourselves. We've both taken that risk, that leap into the unknown,
Absolutely.
right?
When I first met you, you were asking me those questions like, I'm in the corporate world, but I'm thinking about making the leap. And I think I told you, I give good advice. I do not tell people ever what they want to hear. I will tell them, truly assess the situation and tell them honest opinion. But sometimes that is, oh, you need to quit your job. You should dive into that pool of unknown. And it's scary. Like, people expect the opposite. Like, oh, you can do both. But I think I told you, I know you can do it because you're a smart guy, you're a talented guy. And I think I kind of said, just do it, just dive, just go. And yeah, I remember you were deciding that for a while. And then all of a sudden he was like, I did it. So it's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And here we are. Look at this. So let's dive into that, right? Let's to the audience today, I get asked a lot of questions about becoming a creator. Let's not just think a street artist or a painter. Let's talk about all creators in general.
Yeah.
What
it coincides with that, but there's something that when I was thinking about being on this podcast and seeing you, there's something I kind of realized. And yes, we both reinvented ourselves, but we do different things. It's similar, but we do different things. But do you know what I think the one thing that kind of ties us and we're so not similar, but you know what I mean? That's a major thing that was both our work, and it's really a reaction that people have. Do you have any idea what I'm getting at?
No, but I can't wait for you to.
And you've addressed it actually in your piece. Like people look at what we do. People, let me talk about me first, because then I want to ask you some questions. But people look at my idea, and I think it is a simple idea. Again, I'm a writer, and when I was thinking about doing street art, I knew it would be word-based. So I'm like, oh, there's an image of a typewriter with a page coming out of it, and I can put words that I write on it. Very simple idea. So right there, that's the first thing that people go, I can do that. Anybody can do that.
Yep.
And then you get into just the typewriter. I designed a typewriter 10 years ago, and I'm so proud of that thing. Like, it's simple. If you know anything about cutting stencils, there's no islands, so there's no bridges needed. It just stands alone. It took elements of all these typewriters that I loved, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but I somehow lucked into this image that it's gotten a little simpler, but it's pretty much stayed the same. Like, less is more is a mantra of mine. So it stayed the same, and now it's a huge compliment because people say, oh, that's iconic. Or I did the repetition thing like Shepard Fairey taught us enough that people are like, when I see the typewriter, I want to get up close and see what it says. And that's amazing because I want them to read my words. But again, they even look at the typewriter and they're like, I could do that. Anybody could do that. And then the reason they can't is because of all that. I didn't think I could do street art. I didn't think I would be good at it, but I did have it in me. It was an amazing discovery that I've talked about in other podcasts. But what I'm getting at is I'm good at cutting stencils. So you can't do that. Not everybody can't do that. But the biggest thing are the words. And that's where I'm like, nobody, I believe, and I'm modest and I love what other people do. I'm not the only one that does words, but nobody can do words like me because I believe in my writing. And again, I'm modest, but I've always believed in my writing. I've always, and for people that don't know, I moved to Los Angeles to write creatively. So I started writing scripts and short films and worked in stories. And I used to interview bands. And then I worked in documentary TV, and I'm a published author. I wrote a book. That's what's the catalyst for Wordsmith. I wrote this book that ended up getting published, and it's amazing. Now Hollywood is kind of knocking, and that's an amazing thing that I'm talking about them potentially, turning it into a project. But what I'm getting at is I've always believed in my writing. So when I started doing street art, I believed in those words and the fact that they're resonating with people. And now that's what I do full time. And as a writer, I'm getting read on a daily basis all over the world. I'm living the dream. And I sound like I'm bragging, and I'm not. But what I'm getting at is when people sit there and think or say, I could do that, anybody could do that, you can't. And then I'm going to turn it to you because I know it's the same. People look at this and they say, anybody could do that. And another thing is there are other artists that do it. So I'm curious. We talked about it a little bit years ago, but there are other artists that do it. And I don't even know who started it or who did it first, but I will say, and I'm leading you, you do it, and the whole depth that you have in this. First of all, you're talented, you have a creative eye, you're creative aesthetic, but then the whole live through love, like that's the tip of the iceberg, and then there's this foundation of just wow, where, and I'm giving you a compliment, and I know you know this.
Thank you. Yes.
Nobody can do what you do. Everybody cannot do what you do. So I think that is a major bond between us and other artists. But I think and I don't care what people think, but I think we do get that a lot, and it makes me chuckle.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
First off, thank you. I'm receiving that. I appreciate it, especially knowing from where you came, where we've come together, and just from the beginning and that journey and really pushing through it, and over time being able to powwow with each other and ask questions and collaborate and do fun things. But yeah, you'll say that you can make this, but you won't.
Yeah. I love that.
And it applies to everything.
Yeah.
And you hear it more often than not. And nowadays, there's a lot of copycatters.
Yeah.
More and more and more. I'm on Instagram and I'm just, I can't look at it out of scarcity or fear, right? If I'm talking about live through love and I'm talking about looking at things through the lens of love, I've got to look at it and say, okay, I've inspired this person to take some action and thank them. But at the same time, because of the heart and effort and everything I put into how I execute what I'm doing, it does irk me a little bit, because then if people confuse it, I'm like, oh, it's not executed the same. Because I take pride in what I'm doing. It's like if someone, I've seen other typewriter things. I know you've seen some. And you're like, yeah, that typewriter's not my typewriter. Those words aren't my words. Or they're remixed versions of your words, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if we look at it, okay, let me give them some love. We've inspired them. Let's keep doing what we're doing and moving it forward.
I totally agree with that, especially if I can inspire anybody to do something creative or try street art or try writing or just anything. I mean, that's what I do in my work, and it's just who I am as a person. Like when I started here in Los Angeles, I just wanted to say things to people that I wish they would have said to me when I first arrived. And it wasn't out there. Like there was a lot of political art, there was a lot of negative art, and I wanted to be the positive person, and it worked, you know what I mean? And it's just based in everything. Like your whole thing of live through love, it's like I have a lot of positivity, which is also love and kindness. Kindness is something that, so it's like I wanted to paint that on a wall. I wanted to, tell people that and whisper people that. So again, what you said is anything that inspires somebody to chase their dream, I'm a fan of it. If it becomes similar, I don't care, because again, I know nobody can do what I do, and I love that. So I'm not going to be spiteful or jealous of this or that. I'm going to be supportive, just 100%. Yeah. And I also say any way you can get you know what I mean? You're like to express yourself. I don't care. I mean, look what Shepard Fairey did. He started with a little sticker. It's just like, just do it. And I don't judge it. Like, I literally am that person that will go to towns, or I'm here in LA now and I'm looking at stickers going, that's a good idea. But I would encourage that person. I'm like, do it bigger. And that's what people did to me. That's another thing when I started this, and you kind of said it, like this support group, and like, I thought this whole world was going to be like secretive and competitive. It was the opposite. Like I remember like starting and going to, it used to be in the Fame Yard on Melrose. There was like a Thursday night thing, and it's when I met Teach the first time. And I was like not confident, and he was like, do you do art? And I was like, oh yeah, I do the typewriter with the page. He goes, you're a wordsmith? And literally it was like he yanked me up and just kind of said, because I couldn't believe he noticed and stuff like that, or already knew who I was. And it was just so encouraging, and I continue to do that is what I'm getting at. And like, I don't care what anybody does. Like, I'll be supportive and just kind of steer them in the right direction or help them.
You know, it's funny with that, because sometimes we'd be out and we'd be together. We'd either be at a show, or you were at my show, come visiting my stuff. And I'll just be sitting there, and I just love doing this. And I'm like, you know, that's wordsmith, right? I just whisper, and they just lose it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's him. Because for the longest time, you were covered up.
Yeah.
No one knew who you were.
Yeah, the first couple of years, I think every street artist kind of starts off in the anonymity thing because you're afraid of the law, or it's just, I don't know, cool, or that's what other artists did. But I don't know, a couple of years in, I just stopped caring. Like, I believed in what I was doing far too much to hide it. You know what I mean? And I always say, like I mean, the legality is still a part of it, but if a cop needs to do his job, or police person needs to do their job, I'm not going to run. I'm going to talk to them and just let them do it, because I feel like I'm doing my job, and I hope they see that. And I have had run-ins, and the first one, I've told this story before, I was all nervous because it was the first time it was happening. And like 60 seconds in or 2 minutes in, one of the cops goes, hey, don't be nervous. We like what you're doing. Like, they still had to do their job. They ran my name and saw if I had any warrants or priors, and I didn't. But it was so encouraging. And this is like 2014. So it was, I've been doing this for 10 years, or I'm coming on 10 years. So it was like my first year or second year or a year and a half in. And I was like, wow, that's encouragement right there. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember I've been rolled up on a few times, and I started big scale straight out the gate.
Yeah, you did.
So I can't really run away when I'm on a lift or this or that, but there was a few times I did a project and whoop, just pulled up on me.
Yeah.
And then it was more so like, oh, we just wanted to scare you. Or like, we love what you're doing. Keep doing it. It actually makes our day better. We love walking by these things. We love driving by these things. And we think it impacts people.
Yeah. And you just reminded me of something, like for the first year or year and a half, like I was getting up in the middle of the night, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm an early riser, so I was just getting up earlier and getting stuff done. And then I realized anything you do at 4 o'clock in the morning puts a spotlight on you.
Oh, yeah.
So I just started doing things at noon, you know what I mean? Like, and pretending you're supposed to be there. And it's amazing because nobody's going to think you're brazen enough. And I have a joke. This is what I just remembered, because like, if you rented a lift and just started painting a building, unless you're the building owner, nobody's going to think you're brazen enough to be doing a legal piece. Like, I wanted to challenge myself. Like, what is the biggest renegade? And someone's going to steal this idea now, but what is the biggest renegade piece that's ever been done? And if you find the right building and rent a lift, I mean, I think you could do something epic and get at the Guinness Book of World Records or something.
Then go even bigger, get the stage hooked up at the top and just hit 10 stories.
Seriously. But yeah, it's funny. But that was a revelation for me, because it was also part of the confidence and believing what I'm doing, that I'm beautifying and not destroying. And I picked my spots in a smart way, where more often than not, I'll hit a spot that I'll be worried about, and I'll get a message from the building owner or the restaurant or whatever business is there. And they're like, oh, we love the piece you put on thing. And that's awesome. You know what I mean? Usually, obviously, when you're putting paint on a wall, it's the opposite. It's vandalism and stuff. But I've been lucky. People like the work, and that's great. And I know you're the same. Like, people love what you do, pun intended. And yeah, it's been fun.
It's the intention behind the work, right?
Exactly.
So if your intent is to vandalize and destroy, that comes off clearly, you're going to get that other phone call or the report or the people knocking on your door. If your intent is like, let's inspire something, hey, ask for forgiveness later. But if you can inspire that person, let's keep that on the wall. That's amazing. Let's have him come back.
But that's even in the art community too. Like, and I'm not just saying this, like, I'll never go over anybody. I understand the rules of the street, and I hate the graph, hate street art and all that, but I'll never go over it. There's enough walls where it's just kind of like, why are we doing that? Yeah. So I try to push people to and I'm not a dick, you know what I mean? But sometimes I'm like, you went over my piece when there was a wall right here. Like, you're just trying to make a statement or something. So whatever, it's all good.
They're trying to say I went over wordsmith.
Whatever. Yeah, but I think there's enough walls for everybody, and again, I think we're lucky in that, again, the beautifying, not destroying, is how it's perceived.
So let's dive into intention a little bit, right? Your intention was, I wanted to see positive messaging in the world. My intention was the same thing. Like, we turn on the TV, it's a buffet of fear, right? All we see is the bad, violence and pandemics and politics, whether you agree or don't agree, changing women's rights. Like, there's so much going on. It's like, oh my God, there's no good in the world. And also the internal conversations, a lot of my own self-worth conversations. Am I depressed? Am I not depressed? So when I painted my first mural, it says, who will you be? It was about all these ways of being. If I saw a reminder like that to help me choose, I am worthy versus I'm not worthy, and continually moving that forward. And that's exactly what you were doing.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I started in LA and was talking to people in LA, but then I quickly realized, and it's what you just said, that it wasn't just about LA. Everybody has these thoughts. We're in the same boat, everybody all over the world. So these messages were universal. So there was a little change in how I wrote things, where it was less Hollywood based and it was just more supporting whatever. I've said it a lot. Like, there's stockbrokers, you know what I mean, that in Chicago that want to write a book, and there's dentists in the Carolinas that want to be an actor. So it's just all, everybody has their dreams and just things they want to do. So I just tried to support that. And, I make the joke, we only live twice, you know what I mean? But it's like, just realize that you're here and you gotta push yourself. So the intention was just to I believed in my writing, but I did want to put positivity out there. And I'm romantic, so there's a lot of romantic messages. And then I've said this before, and my friends laugh at me, but I think I'm funny. So sometimes there's funny pieces, and I hope it makes people smile. But I'm also fascinated by that, putting pieces out in the street, and you turn a corner and it could change your mood. You know what I mean? It's unexpected. And that's why I still do small pieces. I mean, I love doing sides of buildings and just huge things, but it's kind of nice to tuck away a little piece somewhere, because that's how the original ripple effect and butterfly effect happened. I was doing small pieces and people were taking photos and either posting them and hashtagging them or texting them to their friends. And it just kind of became this ripple effect and it all came down to the words. So, I mean, I don't think anybody's ever taken a picture and be like, look at this cool typewriter. It was look what this says. So
no, it's the delivery, but it's the words.
Exactly. And I think about it now. I'm gonna go back, like I'm a smart guy. I used to work in advertising. Like, people could look at it and kind of say, oh, he knew what he was doing. Maybe I did in the back of my mind. Like I didn't even realize that the typewriter would be the repetition thing that Shep had done and a lot of artists do. And then, the delivery of the words, like it seems calculated, but it's really a couple years in, I'm like, holy shit, how did I stumble upon? And then I got mad. I'm like, why didn't I stumble upon that 10 years earlier? But we do that in life, where it's like when you fall in love, you're like, why didn't I meet you 10 years ago? But it's when it happens, and you just got to embrace it. And I do embrace it. But there was that element of wow, I kind of lucked into this, or there was some happenstance.
I mean, everything you had done prior to that point led you to that moment.
Absolutely. And I also say, like I needed to be in LA for a while because of that original launch. Like, I don't know what I would have said, and my voice started that way and then got more confident. So you need to kind of have that time. And I don't regret anything, but I do daydream sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, if I started that in 2000 or 2003 instead of 2013, but whatever, it's all good.
Right.
Yeah.
But that would have been pre-Instagram too. I mean, Instagram has helped. Social media has definitely helped. artists and creators all over the place.
Yeah, and it would have been fun. It would have been like Instagram, like when I started, and I think you started too, it's like when Instagram was just booming. And I just wanted to document all the pieces that I took. So I had started the Instagram from the beginning. Never expected it to be, but it was also part of that growth. And all my growth has been organic. Like I've never chased anything, and I love that. But Instagram was integral in that. You know what I mean? In that it just allowed for that ripple effect. But I am fascinated on pre-Instagram days. Like that would have been. There's some coolness to that. Like one of the greatest stories that I ever heard, I think it might have been Risk in a book that said it. It's fascinating. So like when graffiti started and people were doing trains, nobody knew who anybody was. And it was just this, there was no internet, there was no message boards, there was nothing. And the way the community started was when you got busted, you had to go to do community service. You're picking up trash and you're like, hey, what are you in for? It goes, oh, I was painting a train. I paint trains. What's your name? And then literally the police are what kind of joined it and introduced art, like writers to other writers in that world. And that to me is just so fascinating. Like it would have been, again, incredible. And I'm a writer, so I just think that's stuff that movies are made of, is stories. Like it's just the coolest thing that the police actually kind of started forming the community. It's amazing.
Yeah, like speaking into that, the initial social media, let's just relate it to that for a second, was the train going cross country.
Yeah.
You saw the name, like, I just hit this many states, or I hit, my train was spotted here. Yeah. And that's how people started seeing names going across
Absolutely.
the country.
And it's even smaller than that. Like it was just like Philly and New York there's stories about that. They'd say, there's my train, you know what I mean? Because their name is on it. But they would know the schedules too, because they were so smart. Like they looked at the number of the train they were tagging and then found out when their train was coming. But it was a moving billboard of look what I did, you know? So it's pretty cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So if you were to, let's just talk about a little bit of advice for creators. Now that you're almost 10 years in, I'm a couple years out from 10 years in, what are your top 3 things that you would give any creator in general besides go do it?
I've said this a lot, and became a piece that I'm very proud of. I hope I get it all right, but I see people, like, especially, I keep saying especially in Hollywood or especially in LA, but it is an amazing place. I see people and they often say, I want to be the next so-and-so. I don't care if it's a dancer, composer, comedian, actor, painter, whatever. There's always this, I want to be the next. Don't do that. Like you have to, first of all, you're right, just do it, but I won't say that. But it's like, if you're doing it, and this is part of our story or my story, like I just said, like I needed to find my voice. And when I had my voice, it was the right time and the idea was there. But you have to carve your own. Like, so the piece that I did was do what you love. Do it for yourself, do what makes you happy, do what you love, and then hope what you do resonates with others. To me, that's the secret to everything, because you can't think, you have to enjoy the journey. I guess that would be part 2 of it. Like if you're on a daily basis just frustrated, if you're trying to paint or be an actor or a dancer and you're not enjoying the struggle, you have to enjoy, like I tell actors, like that audition, and they come home and they're like, I didn't get the part, I'm so fucking pissed. I'm like, but you got in the room. Do you know how many people didn't get in the room? And you acted in that room. So you have to enjoy that. You have to get satisfaction from that, because the satisfaction doesn't start when you get cast. You're, and that's another thing. I hear people say, I want to be a writer, I want to be an actor, I want to be paid. You are an actor, you are a dancer. It doesn't start when you get paid. So
to interject, like, people, I'm trying to do it. No, by trying, you're doing it.
Absolutely.
So you're doing it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get cast, you got in the room.
Yeah.
That means you got that no, and the more no's you collect, you get faster to that yes.
Absolutely. So you said 3. I think I already have 2 or 2.5 of find your voice, you know what I mean? Find what you love and hope it resonates. And then the other one would be, I forgot what I just said.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, enjoy the journey. You have to, and I don't know, that's something you can't teach. But I actually say the opposite. Remember when I said I don't tell people what they want to hear? I'm like, if you're not enjoying the journey, get the fuck out,
Yeah.
especially like this city, because this city will kill you. It's just like you can't, you'll become bitter and everything like that. And then what was the third thing? I don't know. I was gonna say I forgot what I was gonna say. I'll come back to it. But there is that element of diving into pools of unknown and just kind of like really taking chances, which I think is healthy. There was a third one, and I can't think of it.
That's okay. Let's unpack the first one, because I started painting and I started doing these messages for me.
Oh, I know it. Can I just interject just to get it out there?
Go
Sorry.
for it.
The third one, because I don't want to forget. The third one is everybody asked me, how did you do that? And there's no, like, as a creative, there's no like path. Like my path was such happenstance. There is one thing that I know that I say to people, and I think it was a filmmaker, Steven Soderbergh, that actually originally said it, but it's talent plus perseverance equals luck. And that is creative math. That's all you can lean on. I believe in my writing. I know I had the talent, and I was persevering. I wrote in a lot of different mediums. I stumbled upon street art. I'm very prolific, and I stuck with it. Even if I didn't have the success, I'd still be doing it. Maybe not as much and as large and traveling the world, but I know I'd still be doing it. That talent plus perseverance equaled the luck that I had, and anybody has. So those are the three things. Now we can unpack.
Let's unpack. Thank you. Let's recap real quick. So 1, do it for you.
Yes.
2, enjoy the journey.
Yes.
3, work your ass off, push your talent forward, and realize that will actually equal luck.
Yeah.
Luck isn't really a coin flip.
Yeah, and it's all interchangeable. Like the talent, you have to believe in yourself. You are a writer, you are a dancer, you are a painter, and the perseverance is like, if you want to do it, just put your head down, go, and then hope for the best. Hope that it resonates with others, and if that happens. And again, we're lucky, but I can't tell you the joy and passion from getting paid and living, by doing what makes me happy. Or it's amazing. And then I know when I say that, people want to punch me in the face. They're like there's a joke in a movie where it's just like, I forgot what it is. It was just like, what if your dreams exceed your reality? And the other person goes, keep it to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and there's an element of that. I know people want to punch me in the face when I say that, but I'm trying to at least tell my story and hopefully, encourage other people, and then magic will happen.
If you share your secret sauce and your formula and you put it out there, and if no one wants to take any lessons from it or act upon it, that's all you can do. Because you could just not share any of that and be like, I'm me. I am me.
Yeah.
So
this is another tangent, but this is a compliment for you, and it's why we're friends, but it's also why you have a great podcast. The other people that I love in life are the people that listen instead of waiting for their turn to talk. Like, that is such a major thing, and that's a major tangent, but I do a lot of interviews and podcasts, and sometimes I'm like, oh my God, they just fired off another question and didn't even unpack what I just said, and so that's a compliment.
Thank you. So let's go on back and unpack. Okay, so the first one, doing it for you, right? And the way I relate to this is, in the world, they say, go to college, go get a degree, go become, when I grew up, be a doctor and a lawyer and go to corporate America. No one ever said, go be an artist. I've always been an artist, but not until I decided to click and go down that path, I was miserable. I was depressed. I'm like questioning everything. I'm healthy. I live in LA. I'm successful. Why am I feeling all these things? And the minute I started doing life for me, that's when it started clicking. Yeah. Let's not even talk about the art, what it is. I am doing life for me. This is my life. I was given this opportunity. Let's go forward.
Yeah. And I've, this is going to turn into a challenging question for you, but like, I was lucky. I'm going to say this. I was lucky. Like, when I left advertising in Chicago, I didn't have a wife. I didn't have kids. I had the liberty to say, I'm going to try something new. And that's a reason that some people don't take the chances. And then the same thing going to London. It's sad, but I'm kind of like, okay, I can do this. I'm at a point where, you know what I mean? I have that freedom. And the question for you is, like, you made the leap and then had success and then met Z, who I knew before. And it's an amazing story. And now you have a kid. Like a great child. Like the question I was going to ask, and I think it's impossible to like, do you ever think about that? Like, could I make that leap if I met Z and when I was still in the corporate world? And I'm just saying, I think about that sometimes, where it's like you can sit there and say, oh, I don't have this and I don't have that, but it did give me I'm here today because of that. Wordsmith is here because of that. So I don't know if you've ever thought about that.
It's a weird
way
question. We could dive in. So at the tail end, I had started painting murals already. I was maybe a year or two into it.
Yeah, you were doing both.
But I wasn't.
You were doing the Superman thing. You had the suit, and then it was just like
I was out the door in a suit and tie, go home, work out, and then hit the streets at night in my other outfit.
Yeah.
And at first, though, this is some of the questions we talked about. Like, I'm painting some murals. How do I make money at this? But I had a corporate gig. I had like a formula. I was always self-employed, so that wasn't a part of the conversation. It was, here's a formula to life to make money, to put a roof over your head. There's no formula in being an artist.
No,
there's no formula in being a creator and trying to figure that out. So at first I painted my first mural, my second mural, my third mural. And those were just done like for barely cost. And then I'm like, I'm miserable here, but how do I make money on this? I know what they cost to paint.
Yeah.
And then I started painting for people just to paint something and make money. Hey, will you paint this? I know you can paint. Oh, I can make money painting. Okay. But then I'm like, that kind of feeds into the unhappy part. So then I figured out how many of those can I take on enough to get me to the point of continuing to feed my machine and then make that be the thing. And people started then hiring me to paint my thing. But during that transition, I had met Z. We started dating. And this kudos to Z and everything. She was definitely my muse. And I had a few muses. She was my female muse. And I had a couple friends that were a part of this whole catalyst and everything that happened. But women are kind of wired like, oh, as a corporate guy, there's safe, there's success. Like, we can build a life together. She's not wired that way. She's like, you need to go do this.
That's awesome.
And one night in bed, I was reading my poetry to her because I do words and I do poetry. And she's like, I buy this R.M. Drake guy's stuff on Amazon. You could put a book together, put it on Amazon. I would buy it.
It's the best.
And that's who I'm dating. I'm like, well, if my wife, now she's my wife, but like, if she would buy me, someone else would buy it, right?
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that just started leading down the path. And eventually I stopped going to the office cold turkey. And then this took off. So she was very much in support and she believed in me so much and what I could accomplish. And my track history is like, well, he's been successful. So he cannot not succeed, especially if he follows his path in his heart and he's happy. And then continuing to move that forward, there was never a conversation of, we can't get married, we can't have kids, we can't travel, we can't this because of money or whatever that is. It's, to me, life was now happening. Yeah. And we got to keep moving forward, moving forward. And the birth of Live Through Love, because at the beginning stages, it didn't really exist. The mentality and the thought process and everything was there, but I didn't coin the phrase or I didn't formulate it into how can I make this super simple. And then just by living through that and continue to push it forward and living by example, I'm like, choose love, don't react. Respond, don't react. What's happening here? Keep moving forward and just keep believing in it. And also just invest in everything went back into the art. Everything went back into the business. I never came from a scarcity mindset. It was always abundance. Like, we're doing this to change the world.
That's great.
And we're doing it because inside is changing my conversation with myself.
That's great.
I don't know if that answered that.
It definitely does. And I love that you use the word muse because I believe in the muse and had muses in my life, or still do, but I had a major muse, you know this, and it didn't end well. Like, she chose somebody else and it was heartbreaking, but then I'm just fascinated with that muse relationship. Like, obviously she continues to muse me, but it's the heartbreak kind of thing. And that's even fueled pieces and stuff, but I'm in a good place. But muses are amazing. Like, when you really, I kind of even researched and dove into that whole world after, and it's kind of amazing.
It is. If you go back and look at other creators in the past, right? And
it's like history repeating itself. And I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly so.
And that goes back to something that, like, as far as men, in my sense, in my lens, we cannot operate without women. I believe women should run the world. Like,
I totally agree.
If childbirth was put on my shoulders, I cannot handle that pain. Like, we'd be extinct.
I totally agree. And yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing.
So, it is. And support. I love what you said about Z, like that support. And it comes from just a lot of people. Like when I did quit advertising, my friends and family thought I was crazy, but then they kind of saw that I was happy. Even when I was struggling, I was so much happier than when I was successful at advertising. I kept getting promoted and making a lot of money, but I just was miserable. And I know you have the same thing. But then when I started doing street art, it happened again. Like my friends and family were like, my family was like, well, so worried. My sister called me up and she's like, what are you doing? You're going to wind up in prison. And I go, I'm happy. Do you know how happy this makes me? Now, yeah. And now she's like my biggest fan, or like she just kind of says, that's my brother.
We could both relate to a lot of people in our lives the same thing. Why? What?
Yeah.
Are you sure? And now they're like, woo, keep going.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
And good for that. That goes back to inspiring.
Yeah.
But the shift was, in advertising, you did it for money. Now you do it for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm my boss. I think about that too. Like what I do is so similar. Like I was built from the ground up, where advertising taught me how to, write in the fewest, most compelling words. And I applied that to wordsmith. But the liberating thing, I think about this to this day, is I got frustrated in advertising because there were so many chefs in the kitchen that awesome ideas got watered down. I'm the boss. I'm the boss of this. I deem when something's ready and it's polished and it's ready to be painted in the streets. And that's a huge joy of just being your own boss, and then again having it resonate with so many people.
That is a joy. And you know what? That's gonna lead me to this question, because it's a challenge. Working with brands sometimes and other agencies. Sometimes it goes back to that too many chefs in the kitchen, or let's just say the imagination doesn't sync with our imagination. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get a lot of opportunity like that comes to me, and I don't know how to explain it all, but I do probably say no to 50% of it. And sometimes people are like, find out that who I said no to, and I'm like, but they just don't get it. Like first of all, I grew up in the business world. I was built from the ground up, like I said. So when a company comes to me, I know their intentions. Like I could write their creative brief. I tell them to send me the creative brief, and then I'll dissect it, what they're trying to accomplish, and then add my creativity to it. And when the company lets me do that, lets me do what I do, it has been the most successful collaborations, and I'm happy, they're happy, and it just hits the mark. And I pride myself in that. It's two things. It's when they don't let me do what I want, and there's just a tug of war, or worse, and this is when there's been major brands that I've just said, I'm going to say no to this. They go, we love your stuff. We want it to say this. And I'm like, you came to the wrong person. Like, I'm a writer. And here's one thing, I've said it before, but you need to realize about wordsmith. Everything that you've ever seen me paint on the wall resonates with something in my life. Like that's the secret to it. So even if a company comes or somebody comes for a commission, because I've had people come, they like, we love what you do, and we want something that says this. I'm like, tell me your story. And then I'll find some synergy and something that resonates in my life, and I'll write something. And it also pleases everybody when they allow me to do that. Occasionally, sometimes people come to me and they go, we love your stuff. Could you do a piece that says this? And those words already resonate. And I say yes, but I still want to hear their story and everything like that. But that's occasion. Like I do have a knee jerk when anybody kind of says, here's what we want to say, because you're coming to the wrong person. Like, let me do what I do. Let me dissect your goals. Even if you're a couple or just a family looking for a commission, or you're a company looking to, whatever, all the, the deal, increase awareness or increase sales or blah, 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 blah. But I understand it. So it's the opposite. It's the frustration of the too many chefs and the company not getting it.
I know, I've been down those rabbit holes, but
I will say, no, I'm not gonna jeopardize everything that I've done has been organic. Everything is altruistic. Like, I'm not gonna sell out. It's just, I can't do that. I love money. We all love money, and I'm not in a greed sort of way, but it's like it allows us to do the things. But I do say no, and I will continue to, and I have to. We have to.
But saying no is powerful. So you're not saying no out of ego. You're not saying no because I want to do this. You're saying with this is what's going to work. Trust me, I know enough.
Yeah.
And you're going to say no because you have the integrity in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which that's what I could resonate with.
Yeah.
Because I see people spiral out and they're like, yes, and they're miserable on the project.
Yeah.
And that money doesn't last. Like
Absolutely.
It's not the reason to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So and it's funny, I'm protective of my brand, and I probably said that for the first time like 6 years ago, and I had such a knee-jerk reaction of I just called it a brand, but it is. But you have to be protective of whatever you're growing and working on, and your business. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's an interesting road. But it's also like the fact that companies come to us is just amazing. Like it just thrills me to no end. But yeah, 50%.
But you got to protect yourself because no one's going to do it. Like I've been asked, do you do another word? And I'm like, no, I will not do another word.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
We move on.
Yeah.
So last question, my favorite question. How do you define living a life through love?
I don't know. I go back to the like built from the ground up kind of thing. Like love and I used the word kindness before. Like to me, they're just the same, or there's just a synergy there, and being a positive person. Like that's my foundation. That's who I am, and like it or not, you know what I mean? It's who you're gonna meet, whether it's Phil Brody or whether it's Wordsmith or whatnot. So as far as living through love, I think it's just kind of believing in that, you know, that kindness and positivity, and I don't know, like even in the street art world, like if I didn't do it right, you know what I mean, it could have been a disaster. It could have been sappy. It could have been embarrassing, but it wasn't, you know what I mean? So I was able to, you know, apply everything that I said, the smarts and the writing and the built from the ground up as, you know, business sense, and do something that does projects positivity, projects love, projects, you know, kindness. And I'm happy with that. And I don't know if that answers your question. Like, I feel like I do that on a personal level. Like I have close friends that are family, and like I pride myself in the relationships, but then it also mirrors what I'm doing in the art. And that's why, I don't know, it doesn't, I'm sure, I know there's people that don't like what I do, you know what I mean? I don't care, but I don't know where I'm going with that. Like, just at least respect the
haters are going to hate.
Yeah. At least respect the perseverance and everything of that nature. And I don't know, that's usually, I'm going off on a tangent, but that's it. It's just kind of like, it's part of the foundation that I love to stand on.
So what I'm hearing, how you live through love is by speaking your truth.
Yeah. Being me and being me in the art, and I've seen that, like there are, I mean, you even hear that on in the news, like there are people in the news or spotlight or creative people, and you find out they're not good people, you know what I mean? So I want to be, I don't know, I am both, and just kind of projecting that.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It was an awesome conversation.
It's been a pleasure. I always love catching up with you. I'm glad we were able to put this down and share this conversation. And where can everyone find you?
My name is Wordsmith with no vowels. So whatever you do, whether you're on Instagram or the internet, if you just, you know, type Wordsmith with no vowels, you're going to find me. But I'm on Instagram, and I have a website, wordsmith.com, no vowels. And you'll find me there. And you'll find me all over the world on walls. Hopefully you'll turn a corner and see my stuff.
Well, I'll see you in London in July.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Cheers.